It was a rainy evening at Istanbul Ataturk Airport. 9:15 p.m. Through the massive terminal windows, the runway lights shimmered against droplets of rain sliding down the glass. Our main character, Captain YALCIN, a disciplined pilot with 20 years of experience, was quietly reflecting. This flight was supposed to be just another routine night shift. Yet something gnawed at the back of his mind. A recent news story about a mysterious plane disappearance somewhere in Southeast Asia. In the crew briefing room, the cabin team gathered. Head purser Elif was reviewing the safety procedures, while Melis, a young flight attendant on her very first long haul, listened intently. The slight nervousness in her eyes didn't escape Chem's notice. Passengers began boarding slowly. Among them, one stood out, a middle-aged man in a gray overcoat. He carried a small, old leather briefcase. He neither spoke to anyone nor made eye contact, just quietly observed everything around him. In the cockpit, First Officer Mert was completing his routine checks. "Captain, I heard there's some heavy traffic in Singapore airspace tonight. We might need to make a small route adjustment." Sem narrowed his eyes. Traffic? Or something else? Outside, the rain drummed steadily on the glass as the engines roared to life. Just then, a call came from the cabin. "Captain, passenger in seat 17A. His luggage wasn't loaded." But he was strangely insistent about boarding. Sam immediately pictured the man in the gray coat. A strange tension seemed to settle over the cabin, almost like the air had thickened. Outside, a storm was approaching. Inside, the real storm was only just beginning. The Boeing 777 rolled steadily down the runway. With a deep roar, it lifted off, piercing through layers of dark clouds. Lightning flickered on the horizon. For the first hour, everything seemed normal. Passengers settled in. Cabin service began, and the flight crew kept to their routines. Yet Sem couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. First Officer Mert broke the silence. "Captain, weather radar is showing an unusual formation ahead. It's not just turbulence. Look at the density." On the radar screen, a swirling mass pulsed in deep red and orange. It looked less like a weather front and more like something moving. Meanwhile, in the cabin, Melis noticed the man in 17A had not touched his meal. Instead, he sat rigidly, eyes fixed on the seatback flight map. Every few minutes, he scribbled something into a small notebook. Elif approached him politely. "Sir, can I get you something to drink?" He didn't answer. He simply turned his head slowly toward her and asked in a low voice, "Do you know what's waiting for us over the Indian Ocean tonight?" Elif froze for a moment, unsure how to respond. Back in the cockpit, Mert adjusted the heading to avoid the storm system. But as the plane banked slightly, both pilots saw something on the horizon. Two faint lights, hovering at a strange altitude, not moving like any commercial aircraft they knew. And then, the radios began to crackle. A distorted voice came through, speaking in a language neither of them could recognize. Sem's hands tightened on the controls. Whatever this was, it was no longer a routine flight. The storm clouds thickened, and lightning briefly illuminated the Boeing's massive wings. The faint lights on the horizon were still there, keeping the same distance, as if watching. Sem took a deep breath. "Mert, request confirmation from Singapore ATC about any traffic ahead of us." Mert adjusted the radio, but the response was only static, followed by that same strange, distorted voice. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Suddenly, the autopilot disengaged with a sharp tone. The aircraft veered slightly to the right, as though pulled by an invisible current. Sem quickly took manual control. "This is Captain YALCIN to ATC. Do you read me?" No reply. In the cabin, turbulence began to rattle cups and trays. Passengers looked around anxiously. Melis clutched a seat for balance, glancing again at 17A. The man's notebook was now open, revealing a map, one that didn't look like any commercial route. Instead, it showed a narrow path across the Indian Ocean, ending at a small, unnamed island. Aleph leaned closer to him. "Sir, what is this?" He looked up, his eyes cold. "It's where we're going, whether the captain wants to or not." Back in the cockpit, warning lights began to blink. The navigation system displayed a new course, one neither pilot had entered. It was as if the aircraft itself was choosing the path. Mert's voice trembled. "Captain, we're being redirected." Outside the windshield, the two lights suddenly shot upward into the clouds, vanishing in an instant. And yet, the plane kept banking, pulling them farther from their original flight plan. Sem gritted his teeth. He had flown through storms, mechanical failures, even near collisions, but never had he felt so powerless. The Indian Ocean stretched out beneath them, dark and endless. Somewhere out there, something was waiting. The cockpit was filled with a low, constant hum. Different from the usual vibration of the engines, it was deeper, almost like a distant chant. "Chem, the radios are dead," Mert whispered, checking the panels again. Sem's knuckles were white around the control yoke. "Switch to backup systems." But every backup flickered, then went dark. The only thing still working was the flight control. And even that felt heavy, as though something was resisting him. Through the windshield, the storm abruptly broke apart, revealing a strip of moonlight over the ocean. There, emerging from the dark water, was an island. It wasn't on any chart, and it glowed faintly along its shoreline, as if lit from beneath. In the cabin, passengers pressed against the windows. Melis stood frozen, her gaze fixed on 17A. The man had closed his notebook. His expression was calm, almost satisfied. "We're here," he said quietly. Aleph swallowed hard. "Where is here?" He leaned closer. "The place you're not supposed to find, unless it calls you." The Boeing descended without clearance. Sem pulled back, fighting the controls, but the plane refused to climb. Every instrument showed a steady, perfect glide path, straight toward the island's narrow strip of beach. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Turkish Airlines 602, declare an emergency, forced descent." But his words went nowhere. No one was listening. As the landing gear deployed with a metallic groan, Sem realized something terrifying. The runway lights on that beach were not man-made. They pulsed, like living things, guiding them in. The tires touched the sand with an unnerving softness. Instead of decelerating, the plane rolled forward, deeper into the jungle's darkness. In the final moments, before the cockpit windows were swallowed by shadow, Sem heard it again. That same distorted voice from the radio, now whispering directly in his ear. "Welcome home, Captain YALCIN." If you felt as excited listening to this story as I did telling it, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like. Every day, I'll bring you a brand new story from the skies and the heart of the airports. Until our next flight together, take care.